Sharing screen. Okay, here we are. So we are on to Interlink then and now. It's great when we can just breeze through these pretty quickly. This is from from Redacted, and it's relating to customer response. And it says, one of the lessons learned from the first Gulf War was that more needed to be done to promote cross-agency national tactical sharing of our intelligence. It sounds like it's, Transformation 2.0 again. In response, the Defense Department and the intelligence community jointly commissioned an architecture framework panel in late 1993 to find a solution. After studying the matter for about 4 months, the panel had written a lengthy document that enumerated many high-level requirements for improving connectivity. But rather than expecting people to read the document, the panel searched for ways to show senior DoD what was really needed. So World Wide Web technology was new and answered about 60% of the requirements. It was also free, a major selling point in the fiscal year. So 10 organizations agreed to host web servers on JWICS, the Joint Worldwide Intelligence Communications System, a top secret no-phone network, and called the service Intelink. And so, yeah, Susie's had to explain to me about Intelink before, so this is obviously not the first time we've heard of this. And it looks like this document is giving kind of a history of the development of this issue. And Interlink hosted samples of multimedia reports, music, video footage, and text reports that would show the broad range of capability needed to address many of the problems exhibited during Desert Shield and Desert Storm. This is going all the way back to 1994 and talking about the development of Interlink. The NSA was one of the original agencies to participate in Interlink. And for me, like as somebody who doesn't know a lot about this history, this is useful not because it's new information, not because it's groundbreaking, but just as a history lesson and just as contextual learning, it's good for me to read this type of information. And so I would take note of this document for my own learning benefit, but it may not be, or to many other people. So anyway, at the time of the initial prototype, the NSA's sole contribution to Interlink was the SIGINT Digest, a predecessor to today's global SIGINT highlights, and which included maps, graphics, proved that anyone could indeed share multimedia-based reports and that customers could see them in all their intended glory. Then it says Interlink was declared operational on the 1st of December 1994. In January 1995, NSA began offering 45 days worth of openly shareable SIGINT product, online searchable through serial, tagline, and keyword in title. That offering was enhanced through the addition of topics of high interest that allowed customers to click on a topic to see a list of SIGINT that responded to those topics.
Right, so this is incredibly significant because what this is telling us is that the NSA was operating a web portal in 1994.
Yeah, that's actually, that seems very early.
Not to mention a multimedia web portal.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, this is really
in 1994, nobody had a web portal. In 1994, exactly. People were using, at best, IRC, like homepages on the web, news groups, and bulletin board services.
Yeah.
Nobody had a web portal.
So is this information about Interlink new to you, or is it not?
Interlink itself isn't, but this history of Interlink is new. So I did not know that they had it as early as 1994. That is incredibly significant.
Yeah, definitely.
1994 would probably predate all of the commercial websites on the internet.
Absolutely. So that would definitely be a point.
96. I mean, maybe I'm recalling this from personal memory, but I would think it would be 95 or 96 before there was commercial websites at all in the web space. My memory of it was that really it was actually the cam girls was the beginning of the commercial web. Seriously, it was like pornography actually pioneered like internet technology. Sadly but true. Sad but true. I'm trying to remember that. Was it Jenny Cam or something? It was like the first cam girl. And this sounds like I'm some kind of porn connoisseur. It actually couldn't be like further from the truth. But the entire world's like commercial internet started from cam girls earning money broadcasting to the web. And that was when the first webcams were developed, and I'm pretty sure that wasn't until 96. Maybe.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I remember a friend of mine buying one of the first webcams, and it cost the best part of $1,000 to buy a webcam. You know, what you can get now for $20 or $25 was like $1,000 back then. It was a big deal. And virtually no one had one at that point.
Well, I remember in 1998, 1999, people were still, I mean, like, the internet was mentioned, and like, for example, on some sort of TV show, they would start saying, you can go to our website, www.so-and-so. And like, me personally, I didn't even know at that stage, I was young and didn't know how to even work the internet at all. So yeah, to see them having this.
1999 was all the systems are going to fall over for Y2K, and it was this big like deal. And then the dot-com boom, which is like the big, you know, bubble of these companies, these technology companies, these specifically web companies, is all post 2000. So for them to be operating a multimedia web portal in 1994 is pretty next level. It does put them 10 years ahead of the commercial internet.
Exactly. I think that's a really great number. I think that's a good estimate for sure, because I don't remember. Yeah, that would be about the time when I had a fully operating understanding of the internet and a computer that worked in that type of a level. So
now think about what 1994 was in war history. Because they're talking here about information to support war fighters, information on NSA. So in 1994, we were post-Gulf War. I want to say 1.0, though. There's been many wars in the Gulf.
Yeah.
At least George H.W. Bush's Gulf War, right?
Yeah.
They're leading into the Balkans Wars.
Exactly. And Kosovo and all of that. Yeah.
Exactly. All of that would have followed this. So this means that this is the type of technology that they had available to them when they were fighting those wars.
Wow. That's another
reason that I would consider this to be significant.
Definitely. That context is really important for sure.
I'm just reading through the next paragraphs now.
Yeah. I'm just scrolling. Which paragraph are you on? I'll scroll to it.
Just in the second one. Soon after Interlink was declared operational, it became apparent that it didn't solve their issues because not enough people had top secret clearances, and it was a top secret service. So another version was created, like junior, or in software development, we would say like a child version. This is the parent version. There's a child version. That was Interlink S.
Interesting.
Now, you know what, just the thought that struck me before, we think about like NSA systems being breached or being hacked or data being exfiltrated or leaked. Imagine the havoc that could be wreaked if someone could get inside these systems.
Exactly.
Like, holy crap, you know, like it's like one thing for the OPM database that was like really serious breach, you know, there's been other really serious breaches, but it's something as simple as like getting into Interlink and closed staging. We can see your Twitter, by the way. I'm not sure if you realize that.
Oh, sorry, I just was
just sooner, but imagine going just something as simple as like changing all their staging to closed on their customer requests, like order fulfilled, like
yeah, no, like the amount of control that basically
weeks or months worth of utter chaos from something so simple.
Definitely.
Not that I'm advocating for anybody to do that at all, but I'm just saying, like, in theory, if they have systems that they want to protect, you'd think that would be pretty high up the list.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I mean, again, we even up until like this is going back to 1994, but obviously we haven't seen any interest in defense of their data at the moment. And I thought it was really interesting when I had a family member or when they reacted to the summary I did of the NSA findings. Well, they asked me the question. They were like, well, how is it that you're talking about them not having any sort of interest in data security? And they were really confused by the fact that reference to like Hewlett Packard, because they couldn't get their minds around the idea that the NSA would have outsourced that. Like, it's just so crazy. They were like, wait, is that like a mistake? Like, that can't be right. And so
It's not a mistake. It's standard operating procedure to outsource to, well, this is the thing, right? They're a corporate. Everything that we're seeing is that they operate, not just they are a corporate, but they operate like a corporate in all respects, in their language, in their hierarchies, in their systems, in their development practices. All of these development practices reflect standard software, development practices. Everything's revolving around the same life cycle that you see in the commercial space. So it actually, on one side, it's completely crazy, but on the other side, it's completely logical that they would do what every corporate does and outsource that stuff, outsource their, everything, hardware, networking, all of it can be outsourced potentially. And that's basically what they're doing with their Dell workstations and with their Oracle databases and with their Hewlett Packard. And like, this is what every corporate does. So they are they're literally just operating like another corporate.
Yeah, it's just really, I think for, me coming into this, but also people that don't have any idea about this concept that the NSA operates that way, it's just unbelievable. Like it's really difficult for people to get their minds around that concept.
Remember what Snowden said? He said that he worked the Dell contract for the CIA.
Yeah.
So this isn't just the NSA that's outsourcing everything to the corporates. It's also the CIA. It's the agencies that have, the most at risk, the most top secret agencies are outsourcing to commercial suppliers. What's scary about it is I've been on the customer end of that relationship, and I know what it's like trying to get support from them.
Yeah.
While I'm sure the CIA gets better support than like the commercial companies that I've worked for, still, most of these companies' support channels are actually themselves outsourced. So you get into situations where you have a contract with Hewlett Packard, who has a contract with someone else, who has a contract with someone else, who has a contract with someone else. And next thing you know, you're like talking to a call center in Thailand who's telling you we'll get back to you in 36 hours, like, or worse. And, maybe Hewlett Packard has a dedicated team locally just for CIA, maybe that's not the case, but generally speaking in the industry, it's that when we talk about second, third, fourth line support, it's like how many steps away from the route you are. So it could literally, take you a week to get the most basic help with the most basic issue that you have.
Yeah, definitely. I can't imagine them having to wait through like 3 different levels of support. It's just mind-boggling to think of an agency of an authoritative agency like that.
It also sheds some light on why they, if you remember back to the time of the leaks, they couldn't work out how Snowden had done it, and why they wouldn't be able to work out how. Because remember, they couldn't even work out how many documents he'd taken. Yeah. And then the number that they ended up coming up with was like some astronomical over 1 million or something. But that was the entire pool of documents, that they're basing that on, not the ones that he actually took. So they couldn't ascertain, they couldn't nail down what it was that he'd actually taken or that he'd actually left.
Yeah.
And the reason for that would be because who are they going to have do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Who are they going to have do the work to ascertain how many he took? If they don't have their own specialized in-house networking staff, if they don't have their own systems defense team, what are they going to do? Are they going to call Hewlett Packard? Are they going to call Dell and say help?
Well, that's the thing.
How many documents have been taken?
Yeah, really. No, and it's like
the linguists are not going to be able to help them. They're 8,000 linguists.
Yeah,
and not gonna be able to tell them how many documents Snowden took.
Yeah, and so that's what's worrying about, seeing them having such a huge hand in Interlink, and also having this developing these capabilities so early, is knowing how much their capabilities or the security of these capabilities is outstripped by how fast they're developing them.
Yeah, but you know what? It's all about money. It's all about
very
money.
True.
Because what are we seeing in these? They've got entire documents. How better can we serve our customer? How better can we serve our customer? Let's bend over backwards to make our customer happier. Like that document we were just looking at a moment ago.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. When
Why is that? Why is the focus on making the customer happy?
Yeah, and I mean,
the customer is paying.
Yeah.
The customer is paying the
Definitely.
NSA.
The thing is too that the fact that we just like looked at that document just now that was mentioning that, and we dismissed it because we've seen it so many times. Like we've seen it a million times before, so it wasn't, you know, at all newsworthy to us. And I think, you know, if you're, you know, when you're writing about these, like that document wasn't noteworthy, but it is noteworthy that we are seeing it so many times. So you can just literally write, like we saw the mention of customer relationships and the importance of customer relationships like 50, 100 times in these documents, compared to other concerns that you would think.
And they're developing system after system after system.
Definitely.
To better process. Like we talked originally about the whole new customer relationship database that they had like put together, and then they have initiative after initiative, which is about how to better serve the customer.
Yeah.
We have not read a single document about custom built software to analyze the data integrity of the internal systems of the NSA or to protect their systems. There's not been a single one. Must be dozens of programs that we've analyzed so far. Not a single one of them was about defense. So Snowden was spot on. Exactly. He's been blowing the whistle about this aspect for years. He's been the one saying it's been all about attack and not about defense at all.
Yeah, for sure. And so what we found that is just in support and in corroboration of that, for sure. Definitely.
Absolutely. And the same thing, I mean, they have like their tailored access operations guys or whatever, and they're all about penetration. They're of foreign targets. You know, even going to those guys and saying, hey, can you like come and find out how many docs Snowden has taken is like not going to work for them. And it just goes to show, like, can you imagine like who's sitting in what's his face? Oh God, General Hayden, who hates Snowden so much. Can you imagine sitting in his office when those leaks happened and knowing that you have to call someone? Who are you going to call? Like, it's all well and good to call the White House and tell them what happened, call the Congress. But who are you going to call to actually, I mean, you're going to call CrowdStrike, like not that was ever on the cards, but I mean, who are you seriously going to call to audit your systems if all of your system audits have been happening by third-party suppliers?
Yeah, really. And I mean, and how much of it would be actually trying to address issues versus just covering them up, you know? I mean, that's a speculative statement, but, you know, it seems like their priorities aren't what we would think they would be or hope they would be a lot of the time. So.
Well, I think I'd definitely be learning the lesson from this. You'd hope so, at least. Yeah. And this is a lesson that I've got to say a lot of corporates have actually had to learn, is that...
Yeah, good point.
And the other thing too is that it's not cheap. Like outsourcing to the third party corporates is not cheap. Like what people like Microsoft will charge you for these types of services is through the roof.
Yeah.
Like they could easily employ their own guys in NSA to do a better job and to know your own systems. I'm trying to think of an analogy, but to know your own systems.
Yeah, true.
Is so much more important than to have someone else, or you can know them better than to have someone else know them, especially someone else who's looking after a whole bunch of other people's systems as well and only giving a small slice of their time to yours.
Exactly. Good point. Yeah,